Lost River is the directorial debut of Ryan Gosling. It's also written by Ryan Gosling, and it stars Christina Hendricks, as well as Ben Mendelsohn, Saoirse Ronan, and Matt Smith. Now, if I were to describe this movie, I would say it's a fantasy. Even though looking at this movie, you wouldn't think it's fantasy, it's kind of a fairy tale like fantasy, and I gotta say, it's probably the weirdest movie I've seen so far in 2015. Now, this is coming from the guy who really enjoyed Under the Skin, as well as Enemy, and Only God Forgives. For me to be saying this movie is the weirdest film I saw this year, that's saying something. The movie takes place in a sort of fictionalized version of Detroit, in which this neighborhood and town is decaying. Houses are catching on fire, being burnt to the ground. There's this crazy guy played by Matt Smith, or Doctor Who for some of you Whovian fans out there, who's wandering around and causing chaos. Christina Hendricks plays a mother trying to raise her children without any money, and her home is being threatened to be knocked down. And Ben Mendelsohn offers her a job at this strange nightclub that seems to use violence as a fetish of some kind. This is a weird movie. While her son is investigating this mystery of a dinosaur theme park that was flooded and turned into a reservoir. I told you it's a weird one, guys. Now, I was really looking forward to this movie because, yes, I am a fan of Ryan Gosling as an actor. I like a lot of the projects that he chooses, but I'm also a fan of art. I love art, and I like when a filmmaker can show something. Maybe it doesn't necessarily make sense. Maybe it's not very cohesive. Maybe the narrative structure is flawed and broken, but the images that are there are thought-provoking. Lost River has a lot of that. There are a lot of moments throughout Lost River that I was truly affected by in a visual sense. There's also a lot of elements of this film that you can really tell Gosling is pulling from people he's worked with before. There's definitely Nicholas Winding Refn in here. There's Derek Cianfrance in here. And in regards to people that I don't think he's worked with before, David Lynch and his surrealistic, dreamlike imagery is very prevalent in this movie. So some might say like that's a bit like he's copying off of other filmmakers, and some of those complaints are a little bit warranted because there are a lot of aspects of this movie that don't feel like it's one filmmaker. It does feel like he's drawing from all kinds of people that he's worked with before. Now you can easily look at a film like this and say this is truly horrible. This is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I can also see people saying it's a masterpiece because at the Cannes Film Festival it was booed and then cheered and then booed again and then all this craziness. Everything was divided. Do you know what I mean? It takes a lot of balls to make a movie this audacious, this different, this original. That being said, there are large stretches of this film that don't work. It's almost like Ryan Gosling was upset that people were saying the Only God Forgives torture scene was too violent, so he decided to have a scene in which an animal is tortured, which I didn't want to see, and I felt was really unnecessary and completely out of left field and just unwarranted in every way, and I hated it, in all honesty. I couldn't stand that moment, and I really did not need to see that. There's also a lot of moments in this film that just do not make sense, and you're starting to wonder if it even makes sense for Gosling, or if he just wanted to try to create startling imagery or do something that was different. I give him major props for the fact that this is his first big movie, and he did something very different, and he didn't do the conventional safe thing. You know, he did a very odd and off-kilter movie. And if you're watching very closely during one of the club scenes, someone is wearing a skull mask that is right out of Batman Returns. My best way to describe this movie is you take a really great artist, like say Picasso. He has a paint bucket and he fills it with all of his favorite colors. And he takes that paint bucket and he throws it on a canvas. It explodes everywhere. You have a great artist, Ryan Gosling. He has a lot of great ideas. He throws them all into this movie. They just don't mesh. It's entertaining at times for its originality, but as a whole, it just doesn't work. And there are a lot of moments in regards to character arcs and things just making sense that just don't. I'm gonna give Lost River a C. I admire Gosling for having the audacity to make such a different movie and to put some things in there that are just blatantly offensive, like violence against animals for no particular reason. But at the same time, really good cinematography and a great score can't really save the fact that this movie doesn't have much of a script at all, and it's largely style over substance. So guys, if you have seen Lost River, I'm interested in knowing what you thought below. Thank you so much for watching. Also, if you want to check out my review for Mission Impossible, it's my first in my series of, well, every Mission Impossible movie, as well as some other Tom Cruise movies thrown throughout, leading to Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. It's on my channel right now, guys. Thank you so much as always, and if you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.